let's go over here now and see if we got any. Oh, we got calls coming in already. Look at that. All right, let's go to the first caller. Walid? I don't know. The thing cannot get people's names right.
My name is Walid.
Walid. Okay, well, WALID?
Yeah. LEED.
Oh, okay, well, yes. No, it came close. So, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. So I'm not here to fully defend the God of the Old Testament because I don't believe the Old Testament and the Bible is complete. I come from the perspective of I understand the Quran to be the Word of God, but I'm addressing your question. Basically, if this God does things that we don't like, therefore you're concerned that basically this God does things that we don't like, therefore he's not worthy of worship. And the simple thing I have to say is that God is the creator and you're not. Who is the creation to question God? Because in this question, we're assuming that this God is true, and is he worthy of worship? Mm-hmm. We don't worship him because we like everything he does. We worship him because we absolutely pale in comparison to his might. Who are we to question him? He will completely obliterate us into smithereens. We're not the Almighty, he is. Right. So we worship his power, his authority, not so much that we like or understand everything that he does.
So what if he just went around raping every woman he saw? Would that not be something that made you go, huh, maybe this guy shouldn't be worshipped? But you just said because he's the creator and because he can squish us, we have to go kiss his feet, regardless of what he does.
Well, God doesn't rape. It's like he's not a man. He doesn't engage in intercourse with human beings. But if God were to literally wipe every single person off of the face of the earth in the most excruciating way, we have no way to question it because we are the creation and he is the creator. His might makes him righty. His almightiness makes him right. That's what I mean to say.
So where else in life does that actually...
We are inferior creations.
So where else in life does that actually manifest?
If I make a robot with my bare hands, that robot cannot question me if I made him for dishonorable use. If I made a robot to collect garbage and to do laborious
but what if you gave it free will?
The robot can't question me.
Well, if you gave it free will. If you made a robot, then God would have just made us to worship him. He didn't do that. He made us with free will.
Our freedom of will is ultimately subject to the will of God. We do have free agency, but God can override that in any moment. It's not like our freedom of will overpowers him. If he chooses to harden somebody's heart, they're hard, and there's nothing that can come to them. And on the reverse side, if God chooses to open somebody's heart to the scriptures and the truth, then there's nothing that they can do to resist that. We do have freedom of agency, but ultimately God can override that if he wills. There is nothing above the power of God. The whole of creation is within his hands.
So you don't think that the act of worshiping an entity is in any way dependent on how that entity acts?
No. The me worshiping God comes from the fact that I am inferior. I acknowledge that there is a being who is far more superior to me, and I pale in comparison in authority and power. So I submit to him, whether willingly or unwillingly. I submit to him because I understand that difference between him and I. I am the creation. There is nothing I can do to surmount him. I cannot defeat God, so therefore I submit to him.
Yeah, I guess maybe is missing the point in the fact that if I thought that was God, maybe I would have other thoughts, but there's no way that that's God.
Well, we're assuming that this is the true God, right? We're assuming that the Old Testament, and I'm not defending everything in the Old Testament. I'm a believer in the Quran, right? You can check out my channel, Eyes Wide Open. That's what it's called. I go over this in detail.
I see what you're saying, but
in the end, it's not about if I like him. It's about, is he mightier than I? Is he a greater being than I? Which, if we are going to assume that he's true, which in this question we're assuming he's true, is he worthy of worship? Assume that he exists. It's just, is he not worthy of worship? It's, yeah, he is, because he is greater than I. I submit to him. There's nothing in the universe greater than I, greater than myself, other than God.
Yeah, I guess I have to take it one step
mankind,
further.
I mean, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about mankind as a whole. I'm not, exacerbating my ego. That's what I mean, mankind.
Here's the problem with me just by default saying that he does exist. Well, if I knew that that was the God of the world, that he did create everything and that that's him, then I'm going to have to choose between eternal damnation and worshiping somebody I disagree with their methods, right? But since I don't know if that's God, if I don't know if the Old Testament God is the God of this world, but I can read into it and say there's no way. There's just no way. And so that is why I'm able to say he's not even worthy of worship anyway, right? But if I were to find out that it is YHVH, if it comes out, well, what are you going to do at that point? You're going to have to make a choice between, and I think that you're going to be judged for that. I really do think part of the judgment is, do you have the capability to recognize the morality that you were given and be able to judge accordingly, even if it's God?
Well, Jaron, I must ask you, did you create the heavens and the earth, or did God?
Heavens, no. No, God did.
You did not create the heavens and the earth.
No,
so
but
who is more worthy to decide on how to govern and to who is more worthy to decide who is to make laws about the heavens and the earth and how the creation is supposed to conduct itself? You who did not create it, or the Creator who did?
so when it's telling me stories about how women should be plundered from neighboring nations, and that women should be taken and children should be taken and then passed down to generations as an inheritance, you don't think that?
No, that's not in the Quran. The Quran encourages.
Oh,
the
we're talking
freeing
about the
of
Bible.
slaves.
All right. Well,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, the Bible.
Right. But my point, I guess my point is that ultimately, if God were to say, of course, I don't believe that because the Quran doesn't say that, but even if that was in the Quran, if God were to say those things, I still would accept it. It's not about if I like what he does or not. It's because I understand that if I believe this God is real, which is not, we're not talking about if he's real, we're talking about is he worthy of worship? Well,
right.
If he's God, then he's worthy of worship. He created everything, right?
Yeah, see that
ultimately, I pale in comparison.
I disagree with that. So what if there was another God, and this is like a shittier God that did the creation here? Then what? Do you think that you would be saying
about two gods now, or one God?
Sure, let's say there's two gods. Let's say that there's a ultimate creator, the supreme source, but he doesn't really deal with the minor leagues going on here. And this God, Jehovah or YHVH, whatever you want to call him, he created kind of grossly the world that we get. Okay. And he kind of made a mistake, and Eve, sinned, and now everybody's okay. So, but at that point, if you were just following this God because you said he created the world and therefore you have to follow him regardless of what his morals are and the way he acts, how would the supreme God feel seeing you do that?
You've almost refuted yourself from the beginning, because by positing that there's two gods is fallacious, because if there's a supreme God over that other God, then by definition that other inferior God is not the God. The only thing that's God is the greatest thing that's worthy of worship, who's above him. There can only be one God, because there can only be one peak to a mountain. There can only be one highest point.
Okay, so there is only one God.
Right? There always will be one God. There always will be one creature, one being that is mightier than everything else.
Right, but let's say that
the only thing that's
let's say that one.
God.
Hold on. Let's say that one God is outside. He's further away. Doesn't deal with this creation. You wouldn't know that. So you would be worshiping a God, YHVH, out of the Old Testament, even despite his flaws and despite the way that he acts and his morality. You've just chosen to worship him just because you think that we need to worship whoever it is that created us. To me, that's insane. Like, should a child worship their parents even if their parents abuse them?
Their parents did not create them. It's God who created them.
So God's the only one that can abuse them.
The parents are still subject under the same God. They have to follow the same rules, which is to be responsible over our children. The parents didn't create him. The mother, the child automatically formed within the mother's womb. She did not consciously create him. It was God who created that child. So ultimately, the first and utmost loyalty that the child has is to the Creator.
Yeah,
because like I said, it comes back to creation versus creator. I acknowledge my inferiority. I acknowledge that I didn't create the heavens and the earth, so I submit to he who did.
So what a scary thought,
though. He has sent down it, whether I like it or not. I understand I am limited. I may not understand every last thing that he does, but I don't need to. I accept his authority and I worship him on that basis.
Yeah, I think that's
I will never be like him. I'm the robot. He is.
Nobody said anybody's going to be like him. Nobody's going to be like him, but he can't have a worse morality than you do. Correct?
There is morality is subject to basically if you're trying to impose some morality on God, you're basically saying that there's this law above God that he has to follow. There is none. He is the only law.
We don't have to follow our morality.
You're trying to impose the created rules on the Creator.
No, they're not rules.
It's a miscategorization.
Morals are not rules. Morals are whether you feel like what you're doing is right or wrong. Right? It's not rules.
It's not about feelings. Morals are purely based on punishment and consequence. It's not based on feelings. The only reason there's any moral law is because there's punishment and consequence associated with it.
Oh, that's
so
not true.
I believe in eternal law, absolutely, that we should do right. We should not charge interest. We should, be sexually moral. We should be righteous and honorable people. We should be honest in our business dealings. Because I know if I don't do these things, I'm going to go to hell.
That's the only. That's a terrible reason. That's a terrible reason. How do you think that the Creator is going to be impressed with you for what you just said? You just said that if it wasn't for the punishment that you were afraid of, that you would be a bad person.
Well, what would stop me? What would stop me?
Morality, your heart, your conscience. What do you mean?
May I ask you, without punishment, what is morality? Can you explain it to me other than it just being feelings?
It's a feeling inside you. I can feel whether what I'm doing is right or wrong.
But there are a lot of people who feel all kinds of ways about evil things. A lot of
Sure,
people,
they can say that. They can say
feel
that.
good about robbing others. They feel good about charging interest.
I guarantee you they didn't feel good
another.
at the beginning. They knew what they were doing is wrong. Now, over time, you can probably overcome any feeling. If you kill somebody one time, you probably feel terrible and throw up. But if you kill a person a second or another person, then you probably don't feel as bad as you did the first time. And then the fifth time, sixth time, you might even start liking it. But then you might tell somebody, I like to kill and I feel good when I kill. Well, it doesn't mean that you did originally. You went against the light. You went against the creator. But anyway, it's nice to talk to you. I'm going to let you go because we got more people. Thanks for the call. All right, let's go to...
Okay, take care, Jaron.
Later. Let's go to...
All right, peace to you, ladies and gentlemen. So that was my little discussion with Jaron, and this goes to prove exactly what I was saying, that might is right, and all moral systems, all codes of ethics, all ideas of justice, they are based in the concept of punishment and reward. And when you remove punishment and reward, all you are left with is feelings. And people feel all kinds of ways about all kinds of things, right? Some people, they genuinely feel good doing sexual immorality. You know, it feels good for certain people. They feel like they're the man. You know, these rap guys who just sleep around with as many women as possible. Let's say some interest loaning shark. He makes a lot of money off of some scam deal or whatever. Some people genuinely, they feel good about these things. And we can feel all types of ways with all kinds of things. That doesn't matter. In the end, the only systems that are justified, the only system of morality that's justified is based on punishment and reward. And you can see he flat out admits it in our discussion. He says that his morality is based on his feelings, his own vain desires, as the Quran says. So this goes to show you that we have the truth. Those of us who understand, we're on the tremendous tradition. We understand that God's almightiness makes him all right. We get that, and we submit ourselves to the will of the Most High. We see that the secularist, and really Jaron is coming at this from a very, very secular perspective. The secularist, the atheist, anybody who denies the almighty, absolute, powerful nature of God, they have no justification for any morality. It's all virtue signaling. You can even read the comments of people like during my talk on his live stream. They're saying, oh, he's crazy, he's cult-like, this is precisely what's wrong with religion, blah 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 blah. You know, they're literally virtue signaling. That's all it is. It's a virtue signaling. There was no argument he can give to me other than telling me his feelings don't like God. Well, it doesn't matter whether your feelings like God or not. He demands that you worship him, and he is the creator and you are the creation, and you best fall in line. You see, within the Quran and with the tremendous tradition, there is no virtue signaling whatsoever, okay? There is no virtue signaling, okay? Literally, the Quranic message is this: there is a God who created the heavens and the earth. He wants the world to be, or he makes the world be governed in a certain way. He has set down this law, and either you follow it and abide by it and you save yourself, or you rebel against it and you face your own destruction. There is no virtue signaling. That's one thing that really blows me away about the Quran. There's no virtue signaling at all. There's no God trying to appease us and please our own desires. He does whatever he wills, and he demands worship. And either we can give him that worship that is rightfully due to him and spare ourselves, or we can reject him and go to the fire forever. That is a tremendous tradition. Every other system of morality is all based on virtue signaling and feelings. There's no justification. Only when you accept the almighty nature of God, then you have a real justification for a moral system, because it's consequences. There is inescapable consequences. If I disobey the law of God continually in my life, there is a good chance I'm going to go to the fire forever. That is a real consequence, a real deterror of evil, not feelings, not, oh, don't do this thing to me because it makes me feel upset and bad. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. It's all based on, okay, don't do this thing to me that's evil, because if you do it, God may send you to the fire forever. Now, that is a real reason to stay away from wicked behaviors, okay? What Jaron has done, and he has created or conjured up in his mind this God of his own contrivance, this God which actually, instead of him pleasing God, him submitting to the Most High, this God actually submits to what Jaron's morality is, what Jaron feels like it's right and wrong. This God submits to the will of Jeranism, and that's ultimately what he's doing in the end. That's ultimately what all these secularist, deist people who say they believe in a God, but they don't submit to the God of the Scriptures, that's all it is. That's all it is. It's a God of their own contrivance. It's a God of their own contrivance. But anyways, men, I just wanted to make this video, post it. I know I saw Jaron, I was at work today. I saw that he was going to do this live stream of is the God of the Old Testament worthy of worship? Now, like I said, I don't believe in everything in the Old Testament, of course, but even if God were to do these terrible, these harsh things that we hear about in the Old Testament, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change that he's worthy of worship. Why does it not change that he's worthy of worship? Because he is the Almighty and we're not. Right? It doesn't matter whether I like what he does or not. Although I don't believe in everything in the Old Testament, nonetheless, if God wants to do these things, that's totally his prerogative because he's a creator and we're the creation. So when I saw this video that he was going to do, this live stream calling of is the God of the Old Testament worthy of worship, I knew it was just going to be a big virtue signaling festival. It was going to be a big, just virtue signaling, nonsense, vain desires. That's all that was going to come from him. So I knew I had to hop on there and speak the truth and to give the message of truth. And I thank the Most High that he answered my prayers, and I did. So anyways, men, that's really all I have to say on the matter. I hope this talk was a blessing. And yeah, peace to you. Remember, deceit abounds, so keep your eyes wide open. Peace out.
Assalamu alaikum, men. My name is Walid Naeem, and I have dedicated my entire life towards spreading the truth about the words of God. And I don't know about you, but personally, I have grown sick and tired of all these mainstream religions, and specifically the mosques, which have utterly failed us. I'm fed up with them placing the words of man, specifically their fabricated hadiths, at a higher authority than God's holy scriptures, their lack of knowledge about conspiracy facts and realpolitik, and their complete ignorance of the true nature of our earth. I've had enough of their compromise, their weakness, their lame sermons which put people to sleep, their virtue signaling, their fear of facing any real persecution, and their willingness to let the quote-unquote secular atheist utterly trample over them. The atheists own all of the educational boards and teach their propaganda to every so-called Muslim and quote-unquote non-Muslim child here in the West. And now with the Toyota Corolla hoax, the atheist has successfully broken apart our communities and made us utter slaves to their government. Our so-called quote-unquote Muslim sons are a bunch of wannabe hood rat gangsters who vape, drink, smoke weed, and party like animals. And our so-called quote-unquote Muslim daughters are not much different. They have no interest in hearing about the Word of God. They are all too busy YOLOing. This has all happened while the imams have been living very comfortably off of the hard-earned money of their community members in the donation bins. As stated before, I personally am completely fed up with this. The mosques have had all of the support, funding, enfranchisement, and time of our communities and have produced absolutely nothing. The atheist has made the so-called quote-unquote Muslim man his bitch. He has steamrolled him in every way possible. That is why I created Eyes Wide Open. This channel exists as a call to action for all of those strong believing men who trust in their Lord fully and refuse to compromise the Quran. It is time the true sons of Adam and the inheritors of the tremendous tradition, in other words, the true Quranic Muslims, to set up something for themselves and fearlessly stand up against the madness that is going on in the world. What you see with my channel right now is only the beginning. These short videos I make in my car are all that I have time for right now, working a full-time job. I scribble these together while at work and make these videos while running errands. But you ain't seen nothing yet. If God should will, I have so much more in store for Eyes Wide Open. I want this to be a platform for the believers. Just a couple of things I have planned for this channel is, firstly, creating scholarly books, documentaries, and essays to arm you guys with the intellectual firepower for dealing with all of our enemies. Secondly, I would like Eyes Wide Open to be a center for heavy activism, public and street preaching, going to City Hall, organizing protests, knocking doors, going to baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, and other major sporting events and preaching to the people leaving the stadium, going to the totally failed mosques, synagogues, and churches and debating with their religious leaders, going to universities and debating the quote-unquote secular professors on their laughable so-called science, and much more. It's time the believers start to fight back and shake the cage of this disgusting system. My goal is to create a base for the believers. I want people to know of our name, that there are dedicated, zealous, and studious men who do not compromise the Word of God, and we are ready to take action. If we keep waiting for our mosque to do something about the real problems of this world, then we will be waiting until Judgment Day. We need to create something now from the ground up. With that being said, may God bless us in all of our endeavors and guide us every step of the way. If this sounds like something you are interested in, and if you want to be a part of the movement, then you can help me out. My Patreon and PayPal are linked in the description of every video, and, God willing, if enough generous believers decide to fund this platform, then I can quit my full-time job and look for something part-time, or, even better than that, leave employment completely, which will give me more hours in the day to do this work. I do not care to be rich. All of that stuff is vanity anyways, but the fact of the matter is, my wife and I need to eat and have a roof over our heads. So, if you wish to support the cause, then I thank you sincerely for that and promise to fight with might and main in the cause of God for the believers. If you are not able to, hey, then I totally understand. Find somebody else who needs that money and give it to them. Give it out of fear of your Lord and in dread of that great and terrible day, which is coming to all of us. For all of the believers out there, the brothers and sisters who follow hard upon the truth, all I can say is much love to each and every one of you. May God reward you in this life and the hereafter. Praise goes to God alone. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace.